So we're going to look at the article summary exercise. And within that, I want to kind of just share and clarify what things you'll be writing. Within that, you'll be kind of breaking it down, breaking apart the articles and everything else that you should have already started looking at. So again, you're going to have a whole week to kind of look at that and start working on it and everything else. Again, this is due by the end of the week, so make sure that you're working on it and everything else. So you're going to have an article summary, and then the following week you're going to have another article summary, and then the third week you're going to have another article summary. So altogether you should have 5 article summaries by the time you're done completing all the different assignments. And so again, for this first one, you're only completing, I believe, only 2, and it kind of breaks it down. So within that, you shouldn't. It should be a little bit easier to implement and everything else. Again, that's one of the things is your topic of choice kind of narrows down what articles you should be looking for, because your topic of choice is primarily what is guiding you. That's where you're going to start incorporating the articles and how you're going to support your initial insight. So what to write and what is expected. So here you have a generic article. And this was from one of your article PDFs and everything else. If you look on there, it has the name of the periodical up top. So that's the Mediterranean Journal of Science. Please pull the whole article, or please pull the whole title of that. Don't just try to abbreviate it. Just make sure you type out the whole thing, and I'll explain more as we kind of go along. And then if you go over, you have the volume number, volume 6, so that's going to be 6. Issue number, that's going to be number 2. The date, 2015. So again, pull the date. Make sure you have the date. The date is very important. It's very crucial, especially when you're having in-text citation. You want to make sure that you're pulling the last name of Shadia Mohammed Saleh Bakhtrayan. So again, that's going to be Dr. And so again, you're going to use Bakhtrayan. So again, you're going to use his last name, and then you're going to have 2015. That's how you're going to use the in-text citation. So again, that's kind of, I'm just kind of explaining what information that you're kind of pulling from these different articles. So the title of article is there, stress and coping mechanisms. So you're going to have stress and coping mechanisms. So the very first word, or the very first letter in that word, stress, so S is going to be capitalized. And then you're going to have S, and then you're going to have the rest lowercase, all the way up to the semicolon. And then within that, you're going to capitalize the A, and then you're going to lowercase it again all the way through. So those are all, that's how the title of the article kind of breaks down. Then you have the author. Then you have the DOI number. Don't forget, the DOI number is very important, and it'll come as we're going along. We'll kind of, I'll indicate why. Again, that's kind of one of the things is the why is, and I'll just explain right now. So within that, the DOI number just allows individuals to find the article if they need to pull it and everything else. They're able to find it, locate it, and everything else for quick access. And for the 6th edition of the APA formatting, that wasn't necessary, but within the APA 7th edition, this is now necessary. It's kind of crucial that they have this in there now. Then you have the abstract. The abstract is what you're going to pull, and I'll explain why in the next portion as well. The abstract will kind of play into your article summarization. So there you have the abstract, a brief summary of the research. So within that, that's what you're going to select. And the reason why this is kind of important is, and I'll explain later on in this video. Then you have keywords, and then you have the introduction. So this will kind of break down what is being presented. Then you go into the background, and it'll kind of express everything. But again, this is kind of just a very general breakdown of the article in terms of what things you're pulling. And these same things that you'll kind of pull, you'll implement it into the reference section and different areas as well. So hopefully that kind of helps. And so moving forward. So this is the article summary worksheet. So if you look up top, you have your name. Please put your name. Again, you're in college. And the reason why I say that is by the time you start working in the field, you start working out in general in your career and everything else, this is very crucial. And the reason why I say that is I've worked in different settings and I've worked in different places, and one of the places that stands out for me was the location I was working at out in Washington, D.C. And I was told this even just from the secretary that I was working with. And the secretary said, make sure you always put your name on whatever projects you're working on, because sometimes some of the employees here will initially take advantage. Again, this was an internship, so one of the things was just the secretary kind of telling me, make sure you put your name on it, because we have employees that sometimes like to utilize the insights that interns have, and within that they'll place their name in there. So make sure that you put your name in there. Within that, you also have your date. Please enter the date that you're submitting it. And then you're going to have number 1. So this is going to be your very first one. So number 1, and then the next one that you're going to fill out is going to be number 2. So make sure you put the numbering up on the top. So there's a little portion up top. Within that, the directions. Complete one article summary worksheet for each article used for your research paper. You should have 5 summaries as noted within the syllabus. So by the time you're done with this, you'll have 5 summaries. So this is going to be article summary number 1, then you're going to have an article summary number 2, then you're going to have an article summary number 3, 4, 5. So again, each summary coincides with your scholarly article that you will use in your research paper. Given the fact that this will be in digital format, please copy and paste the abstract from your article to the last blank page. And I'll kind of clarify that as we're moving along. Please type in all information, no handwritten stuff. Please label as number 1, 2, and 3 for up top and everything else. Notice that what you input here you can utilize in your research paper. So whatever you're writing, you're going to be putting that into your research paper. One of the things I really try to clarify is you're going to be writing from a third-person perspective. So make sure that that is clear. Whenever you're writing, you want to make sure that you're always stating it from a third-person perspective. So this is what you are learning to format. So below you're going to have the author, abbreviated first names, and an ampersand. Ampersand is that little and symbol. If this is 2 authors, you're going to have such and such, and then you're going to have the parentheses, the date of publication. So in other words, the date that the article was submitted. And then you're going to end the parentheses. You're going to have a period. And then you're going to have the title of the article. Make sure that that's in there. So the title of the article, if you notice, and I'll break it down for you in the next bullet. So the title of the article, make sure that you capitalize the first letter of that article. Within that, you also notice that it's also in lowercase. Again, this is just for the title of the article. Within that, you also have the title of the journal. Make sure that the title of the journal is italicized. So italicized meaning that it's leaning forward. And then you're going to have a comma. And then you're going to have the volume number. If you notice below it, the comma comes in, and then you also have an italicized volume number. So make sure that that's also italicized. And then you're going to change it back to the original normal text. And then you're going to have parentheses. Then you're going to have the page, the issue number. So make sure you put the issue number in there. And then you're going to have a comma. Then you're going to have the page range. So it's going to be 30 to 44, period. And then you're going to have the DOI number. Make sure the DOI number is in there. So again, that's kind of how you're breaking it down. Then you have the bibliographic information. So again, these are 2 points. Author of articles, last name, abbreviated first name. So you can find all the authors of the article. That's where you're going to input it there. And then you're going to have the title of the article. That's where you're going to put it there as well. So it's kind of a checklist. That's all you're doing. You're going through and kind of just checking off for yourself to see what things are missing. Because again, this is very pertinent because one, you want to make sure that you're having all these different key components because this is what you're going to put into your reference page. The name of the scholarly peer-reviewed periodical journal containing the article. So that's going to be the title of the journal. Again, I cannot stress this enough. No .com websites is a formal writing assignment. No Wikipedia, no blogs, no Twitter posts, no Instagram posts, no social medias, no TikToks, no newspaper articles. Please do not put newspaper articles in here. I've had students time and time again. I stress it, I stress it, and I stress it time and time again. And there will still be a student who will still submit a newspaper article. Please don't be that person. You will lose points for that. You will lose huge points for that. Please don't do that. So again, you have the date the article was published and how many pages there were in there. Then you have the DOI number. This is new to the 7th edition, APA 7th edition. And that's pretty much what I'm using right now. This is the most modern, up-to-date 7th edition model for APA formatting. So you're going to find the DOI numbers. So most of them will have a DOI number. You can turn any DOI into URL by adding HTTP before the DOI, for example, and as listed. Then you're going to have the summary information. Briefly state the main ideas, the thesis in which you will present in the article. And again, this is a summarization, so I want you to briefly state. Briefly state meaning at least 1 to 2 sentences. Don't just simply put, if it's about cyberbullying, don't just put cyberbullying. Explain it. Briefly state. I've had students simply, again, you're in college. If you don't like to write, I hate to burst your bubble, but you're going to be doing quite a bit of writing. So again, briefly state the idea and a thesis. So here, you're going to have summarizing the most important information. So this is where you have the ideas, the facts, and within that you presented, you're seeing the article, you're reading the article, and you're pulling the main information. You're pulling the main elements. This is not where you're going to start pulling a lot of quotes. You're not going to be using any quotes. You're going to be paraphrasing, you're summarizing, you're breaking it down. You're making it more succinct. And so that's where you're kind of writing those elements. You're kind of pulling all the key pertinent information from it. Within that, you're utilizing about 200 words or more. I do stress this. Again, you will lose points if you don't have the 200 words or more. Again, this is just for the initial article. So this is only just going to be one article that you're kind of breaking down. And then the next one, same thing, another 200. And the next one, another 200. And again, you're just breaking them all down. So then your personal reaction. What was the most surprising thing that you found about reading the article? Purpose of the writing stated. In other words, what was the purpose? Why was it surprising to you? Why was it interesting to you? What was the thing that you kind of came across that you were like, wow, I did not know that? And again, that's where you're kind of looking at that. You're looking at different articles. Then the next one. What questions do you have after reading this article? What would you like to learn more about? Then what other keyword or other topics for further research did you find reading this article? And then the next one, critical outlook. Please discuss the pros and cons. It says it right there, no list. Discuss the pros and cons. You're discussing it. You're writing it down. Just like your discussion questions, you're writing them down. You're having that dialogue with your reader. And that's one of the things you're kind of looking at. I've had students before that just simply did bypass this whole thing. And it makes me question because, one, I hope you're reading it. And I think that's one of the things you're looking at is you want to try to follow all the different elements. So that you're kind of learning and also implementing a lot of the information that you're coming across. So just like I was talking about before, so here's another, you're probably thinking, okay, is he, is there a glitch or anything? No, I'm just kind of reiterating the different things. The DOI number, you'll see where the placement is. Again, it's the 7th edition, so they have to have that in there. The abstract. So what you're going to do is you're just going to cut this abstract right here. So if you have an article, you're going to pull that abstract. You're going to find the abstract. You're going to cut that. And then you're going to paste that into that next portion that I'll kind of explain. That's very crucial. Pasting the abstract in the box. Do not write an abstract. I don't want you to write your own abstract of this. I don't want you to write the abstract of what you just read. I just need you to cut and paste. That's it. Cut and paste. Simply cut and paste the abstract that you find on the article you are using. So you're going to find one, you're going to pull that, and you're going to put it in here. And so that's one of the things I really urge you to begin implementing and everything else, because that's what I'm going to look at to verify if it is an actual scholarly research article and to make sure it's not a newspaper article. So this is kind of the second one again. So this is when you kind of go through the same process, but you're going to have number 2 instead. You're going to have, this is going to be your second article, and you're going to go through the same process just like I went through before. Same thing. You're going to kind of break it all down again. Same thing about the pasting and everything else. Now, how should the paper be formatted? And again, that's where we're going to go into the next section. So the very first page, so this is page number 1. This is going to be your title page. You should already know how to utilize a title page, hopefully. So this is going to be your title page. Up in the upper right hand, make sure you have a page number. That's it, a page number. Don't put your last name. Don't put anything else. Don't put the title in there. Just the page number. Then you go down. You're going to center it. Make sure it's centered. In the center of your paper, make sure it's centered. You should know how to utilize Word by now. So make sure it's centered. You're going to put your title. Make sure you have a title. I cannot stress this enough. You need a title. Be original. Don't just simply put research paper. I've had students say, oh, no, research paper, Psych 111. You'll get points deducted for that. I want originality. This is your paper, not from me. This is what you're collecting. This is what you're presenting. So make sure that you have an original title. Let's see. Then you get a space, one blank double space line under the title. You're going to have your name. Please put your name. It's one of those things where you learn it all through grade school. You get into high school. You learn all of that. Please put your name in there. It's so crucial. I've had students submit a paper and there's no name to it. And you're like, well, I submitted it through the Blackboard. That's great. That's awesome. I'm grading numerous students' papers as well. And if you don't have a name in it, believe it or not, I will send it back to you and say, where's your name? Because you do need a name on this. It's so crucial. Within that, Diné College. Make sure it's Diné College, not Dine College. We're not a culinary institute. Make sure you put Diné College. Then your course name. Psych 111, Introduction to Psychology. That's where it's going to go there. Instructor's name. Please make sure you know the instructor's name. Again, this goes for all instructors. This goes for all professors and everything else. Make sure you put their name in there. It's very crucial. So instructor's name, it's going to be Jeremiah Barber. No titles go to it. No MA goes after my name. Just Jeremiah Barber. That's it. So you should know my name by my introduction, everything else. So make sure you put my name in it. Date assignment is due. You should know when the date is due. Because again, that's listed in your syllabus. It is there. It's there for you, not there for me. So make sure you put the date the assignment is due. So here's page 2. So this is the introduction page. My awesome paper about psychology. That's where you're going to have your introduction. That's where you're going to introduce what you're talking about, everything else. Keep this pretty succinct. You don't want to go longer than, again, your paper is only supposed to be about 3 to 4 pages. If it's less than 3, you get points deducted. If it's over 4, you'll get points deducted. You want to make sure that you're being succinct, but at the same time, you're trying to pull all the pertinent information to present. Again, you're going to break it down. And this is where the APA formatting PowerPoint comes in. That's where you should already begin to start utilizing a lot of different formattings, especially in your discussion posts and everything else. You're kind of learning that. That's the reason why I go through that. With your discussion posts, I'll put notes in there just to help you. So by the time you get here, you should already have it down. Make sure that you're using L for 3 or more authors. So if you see an author and there's only 2 authors, you're going to put both authors' name in there with an ampersand. But if there's 3 or more, please use @L. So then you have the structure of paper and APA style. In this section, provide an overview of the topic to be discussed, identify the topic, be specific, explain why this topic is important, provide an overview of the topic, purpose, scope, assumptions, and limitations. Within this, please, and I do stress this, I try to stress this periodically, you're writing in third person perspective, not first person. First person is I. You're not using I. You're using a third person perspective. Literature review. So this is going to be page 3. This section describes the analysis of literature relevant to the paper topic. All the references content must be presented in this section. Again, what was done, how was it done? Again, this is where you're utilizing a lot of the insight that you've initially come across. This is how you're backing up your statements. This is how you're backing up your opinions. This is how you're backing up your viewpoints. That's where this literature review will kind of break it down. You're kind of presenting different research across the board of different individuals who kind of have the same mindset that you're looking at. And so that's where you're utilizing a lot of paraphrasing. In other words, you're sharing the information from your perspective. Within that, I don't want a lot of quotes. I want to make sure that you limit your quotes. If you're using 8, 9, and if your whole paper is covered with quotes, I'll give it back to you and you'll have 24 hours to rewrite the whole thing. Because the reason why I give you 24 hours is that's initially a mercy call. The reason why I say that is you have close to about a whole month to get this whole paper together, which is adequate time. So within that, the reason why you get that brief snippet of 24 hours is because by the time I've actually looked at it and there are numerous quotes in it, what's going to happen is it's going to come back as a ding. It's going to come back where there are 40 or more percentage on safe assign, indicating that 40 or more percent is plagiarized. So again, you can say, well, I wrote the whole thing. I know you probably did. But if you pull a lot of quotes, that's what's going to come at. That's what's going to come back with. So make sure that you're utilizing a lot of paraphrasing. Paraphrasing as well. I've had students simply just change 1 or 2 words. Changing 1 or 2 words is not paraphrasing. You're still plagiarizing someone else's work. It has to be coming from your perspective. You have to think outside the box. What is this person saying? How can I restate it? How can I re-implement what they've said from my perspective? Again, that's where you're going to utilize a lot of the in-text citation. Discussion, exploration of the topic. That's where you kind of bring it all together. You're presenting and discussing. You're using literature support. Minimally 3 key elements or perspective on the topic. What are future implications for this topic? Comments, recommendations within that, reference related to consistency with APA style formatting. This is where you conclude it all. You're making your conclusion. You're bringing all the things together. You want to make sure that you're recapping everything. You're not necessarily writing anything new. You're not necessarily adding anything new. You're drawing all your ideas and now you're coming to a close. Make sure that you're coming to a close. You don't want to kind of start putting in new information, because if you put in new information, I will actually respond to that and say, what's going on here? Your points were not clear. You've gone all over the place, and now you've implemented new knowledge. And within that, you've not brought it to a close. So the reference page. Here's the reference page. Make sure you have reference in there. So this is going to be a whole nother separate page. Make sure it's a separate page. Don't put it on the same page that you have your written work. References go on its own page. Within that, make sure you're using what is considered hanging indents. You should know how to do hanging indents. If you don't, please Google it. You have a computer. Hopefully you do. Hopefully you have internet access. Please Google it. There's a little instruction right here. That's a hanging indent. So you have Grady, JS, her, him, and you have the whole title. This is for the emotions and storybooks. So that kind of breaks it down for you of what initially, that's how it should be formatted. And then below that, you also have an additional, I believe it's a book. Yes. And then the next one, you have an additional book as well. So again, these are primarily just a reference point for you. So if you notice, for the titling of the book, that's in italics versus the title in an article. Make sure you make that differentiation. Lists using APA style, you're going to have a minimal of 5 references. Again, this is for your whole paper. At this point, you probably don't have a whole lot of articles. If you do, great. If you don't, again, we're working towards that goal. So again, just make sure that you're submitting it. So this one's going to be kind of a breakdown of the paper itself. You're going to need 5 peer-reviewed scholarly research articles to initially supply the necessary viewpoints. So this, again, like I said, this is kind of in a nutshell, everything that kind of very quick, very brief, and everything else. So again, go through this, check it out, and everything else. Hopefully that kind of answers some of your questions. If you have any more questions, please let me know. If you have any concerns, please let me know. It's better to let me know now versus the day before. If it's the day before, all I will say is you had enough ample time, and now you're on the initial. Again, what I said before, writing assignments are a little different from the discussion questions. Writing assignments do have deadlines, and if you miss this deadline, it'll impact your grade and everything else. So please just stay up to breath with a lot of the information.